We understand you have a very interesting Stanley Kubrick story.
Yes. I was driving along the 405 freeway going 5 miles an hour on my way home from Burbank to Manhattan Beach, a very arduous drive. And I got a phone call on my car phone, and it was Terry Semel, who was the co-head of Warner Brothers Studios. And I'd only been there a year, and I thought, why is the head of the studio calling a schmuck like me? You know, I'm just a poster trailer maker, you know. And he said, you know, I've got some bad news. Stanley Kubrick just passed away. And as you know, Stanley made all of his campaign materials himself. He'd hire artists to work, whether it was the poster for The Shining or the teaser trailer for 2001, whatever. He would create the materials and send them off to his home studio, Warner Brothers, and say, here's the poster for Full Metal Jacket, make 40,000 of these. So the studio had gotten to count on Stanley to be the marketer of his own films, almost unheard of in Hollywood history. But here he is with this film that nobody had seen, Eyes Wide Shut, starring two of the biggest movie stars in the world. In typical Stanley fashion, it took a long time to make, 2 years in London. All the studios are not happy with Warner Brothers because we're holding Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman hostage in London. And, you know, there was a tremendous mystery about this film. You know, he had created only one piece for it, and I was there when it first played at Show West, which was a big distribution exhibition convention in Las Vegas that they would have every year. All the studios would bring their movie stars and have their reels of trailers that they would show. And Stanley created a very sexy piece of Cut to Baby Did a Bad Thing by Chris Isaak, and it was 60 seconds and it was gone. And the exhibition community was scared because they thought Stanley had dished up another X-rated film. You know, like Clockwork Orange was X-rated. Won the best Oscar, but it was a very limited audience for X-rated films. So, back to the car. Terry says, we need a campaign. We have no materials. This movie's coming out soon. We need you to get on a plane. The Kubrick estate is not willing to send the movie out here for us to work on, and we know you were an editor, so you're the guy that we're picking to get on a plane and go to London, drive out, and see the movie, which is what I did. 2 days later, I flew to London. His driver, Emilio, picked me up and drove me out to his estate, where they did all the post-production work for all his films, out in the middle of a cow pasture, not a house in sight. Incredible manor that he lived in, but very, very sad, you know. His family was there. The editor was there. They were, you know, the movie was basically 99% finished. Just some minor visual effects work done. So I watched the film in his garage with his family and his crew. It was very emotional. They hadn't seen the movie. I mean, the editors had, but the family had not seen. He just kept it to himself until he was ready to show his work. And it was very, very difficult to watch. You know, I had to keep my focus that I was there for a reason. I was there to, you know, for a week, to come back with a trailer or two, a couple of TV spots. And before Terry hung up on me on the phone, he says, yeah, we need a poster too. So it was very exciting. I, you know, idolized Stanley Kubrick and his movies, so it was a thrill for me, terribly flattering. But my mantra for the week was, I'm going to try to create something as esoteric as Stanley Kubrick will. I'm not going to come back to Burbank and show Terry Semel a 2-minute trailer with a narrator telling you everything you need to know about Eyes Wide Shut. So I had the luxury in my mind of being able to step into Stanley Kubrick's shoes for a week, pretend I was him, and and this is a luxury most trailer editors never get, and so I really wanted to take advantage of it. I had the freedom to, do an homage to one of my mentors in the movie business, which was Stanley Kubrick. So it was quite a week. Every night I would, be taken back to my hotel, and my wife came with me. I asked if she would come because I knew this was going to be a very unusual experience, and I needed some support. I really did. I was nervous. There was a lot of stress. I didn't know what I was going to face once I hit the Kubrick Manor and the house, and who knew what the movie was like. So I'd come back from working at his house, and we'd have dinner and a glass of wine and talk about the day and what I was working on. And it really helped me formulate my, so I'd go to bed and get up the next morning and go off and do it. So I, ended the day with, the last day I was there, Christiane Kubrick, his wife, who was an actress, a German actress. She was in Paths of Glory, and a painter. Lovely, lovely lady. She had on that day, she had on this painter's smock. She was working on stuff, and we were talking in their kitchen. And she said, "Do you want to take a walk before you head back to LA?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." So we walked out into the field, and it was like being in Barry Lyndon. It was just no houses, just cows over there. And we walked to the end of the property line, and I noticed I was stepping on some gravestones, and I said, "What's this here?" And she said, "Well, Stanley was a big animal lover. He just adored animals. Everybody thinks he was this super angry, intense man who made these brilliant, dark movies, and he really had a heart of gold and very close to animals, and little." Fluffy the cat's over there, and they had a llama, I think, buried. They had all kinds of animals there. And I looked off in the distance, and there was this giant geyser of water coming out of like this, cement. It looked like some sort of place where someone might be buried, and interred. And I said, "Is that where?" Because I had read Stanley's, memorial service was on the property, a couple of weeks prior, and I said, "Is that where Stanley's buried?" And she says, "No, he's right there next to Fluffy."
Oh, wow.
And she started laughing. She goes, "I'm kidding. There is a headstone of him around here, but it's not in here with the animal cemetery." So on that note, I flew back to Burbank and showed the work to my bosses, and you can tell they were nervous. This is a big movie. They have a lot of money in it, but it was like one of the most expensive art house movies ever made, starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. It's a very strange amalgam of things. But I had created these very spare, esoteric commercials and promos and trailers, and the guys recognized that, and they knew they couldn't say, "Hey, can't you make it more like an MTV trailer? And can't we go after the younger audience?" And they knew that was a no-no. They respected Stanley Kubrick's wishes too much to do that. So, long story short, the movie did open successfully, and I don't think it was his highest. It was the highest grossing opening ever, but the movie is, it's challenging, like all of his films are. So I don't know what the final gross was compared to 2001 or The Shining. I think it was probably his most successful film, but that's my Stanley Kubrick story.